Welcome to Thriving Moms of Autistics podcast, a free resource for moms raising young autistic children. I am your host, Dr. Christina Wilson. I created Thriving Moms of Autistics after years of experience working with families and having my own autistic child. I coach moms of young autistics one-on-one to tap into their strengths, create a supportive community, set firm boundaries, and raise their autistic child with confidence. Subscribe to the podcast and check out the earlier episodes so you don't miss a thing. Now, let's get to it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Thriving Moms of Autistics podcast with Dr. Christina Wilson. Moms raising autistics are the queens of transition and change. And my mother was quite intuitive. And she knew everything that I was up to when I was growing up. She was always kind of a step ahead of things, which was a good thing. I suspect that my mom was also neurodivergent. Girls are often maskers and really good at blending in. And I recently read about a famous actor that was diagnosed much, much, much older in his elder years. And he attributed his acting abilities, fabulous actor, to being on the spectrum. And I think that there really is something to that, because they're always trying to emulate in order to learn, the social cues and things like that. So raising an autistic child in this day and age has its benefit, as opposed to I don't know, the 50s, the 70s, even the 80s. For one, we know more now than we ever have because of the explosion of research. And also, people are starting to talk about autism more, talking about inclusivity and recognizing it because we are better able to identify it. So, more people are sharing their experiences, that's a good thing. So many of us no longer, no longer wonder what the heck was going on with us as we navigated through the wilds of our youth, and why we were different. And we also have children on the spectrum and see it play out in the world, that finally wants to know more, right? Because people were really closed off to autism before. It just kind of made a lot of assumptions, which they still do sometimes. But, now it's more trending and people want to know. Unfortunately, we still deal with a lot of ignorance, a lot. So in this episode, we dive into setting boundaries with those who do not understand autism, with a bonus boundary setting toolkit for moms, and find out which boundary setting type you align most with as well. So find the full transcript for this episode on any of your favorite podcast apps. And please share the podcast with other moms to help them grow on their autism journey. And you can also do that by reviewing the podcast on Apple Podcasts, because it really furthers the reach. And we want other moms, we want them to know this is out there. I appreciate you. So experiences with those who overstep because they don't understand an autism mom's parenting strategy, those experiences are daunting, right? So soon after the diagnosis, my husband and I were just, how it is. We were getting our footing, okay? And it's such a big shift in having to give the right resources and support, and especially when it comes to early intervention, just trying to wrap our minds around everything. Now, all moms want to provide all that they can for their child's success in life and support them. On top of all of that, you're trying to adjust your parenting style to support your child and keep them safe. You know what we're talking about. So we took our son to the zoo that weekend and wanted to offer him some autonomy outside of the stroller. Because, he was at an age where he could walk and he can kind of do his own, you know, be a little bit more autonomous. So we knew that he moved like the speed of lightning. I mean, this kid is so fast. And we had to accommodate him so that, um, because he did elope, like many autistic children do. And he was a runner. And we decided to get him one of those backpacks with the harness. You see where I'm going with this, right? Some parents call it a leash, and they make judgments unknowingly about this option. Okay? They don't get it. But then there's others who use it and are completely fine with it when other people do. Now, we decided we were going to try it. And the worst that could happen, because I love weighing the pros and cons whenever I'm making a decision about anything, because that's who I am. I like rule. I like, I'm a planner, all of those things. So we decided that we were going to try it because the worst thing that could happen if we didn't is that, he gets away. And oh my goodness, what if somebody were to grab him? Because he's very quick. Uh, And even worse is that autistics are prone to water. They are highly attracted to it, so they're prone to drowning. You see it all the time. And it doesn't take much water either. And of course, the zoo is full of water. So we tried the backpack. And our son was running along and he was giggling and he thought he was hot stuff because he was, free as a bird, or so he thought. He was having a great time. My husband, had a hold of it and he was running behind him and I was running beside them. And this childless young couple in the food court started to loudly judge us, stating some people shouldn't have children. That's disgusting. Okay. Very young. They were so close that I could have just reached out and touched them. And I stopped in my tracks and I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. I'm like, I don't care. Have a great day. And I just moved on. Yep. Don't care. So when moms of autistics can, what can they do when people overstep? Okay, their boundaries, start judging. Well, there are many ways to handle the situation. And I chose in the zoo situation, I chose to let them know that I was basically not interested in their opinion. I didn't honestly have time for it. I had a child to run over and run around right after and keep safe. They were they just were a priority. They really were not. And I confidently moved on without giving them any more of my energy. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. Yes, you can do that. And it's okay to do that. However, there are other ways to deal with this too. So I want you to remember one thing, okay? When you're deciding how to approach this, most people still know very little about autism. Some people are actually willing to learn. In those cases, afford them the opportunity to learn. It's okay. And it will help them and you. Also, it will help other moms in the future. So that's a big deal. And it doesn't even take that long to do it. Takes very little effort to do this. And, I have found that they actually appreciate it when you approach this in such a way. Um, it is so easy to feel frustrated in these instances. And I get it. Now, in the zoo example, I knew these people were not willing to learn. Okay. They just were not. And I I also recognize that I needed to save my energy for what was important, and that's my son. So when you suspect someone is not willing to learn, simply say something like, well, like I did, and just move on. But if you suspect that somebody is willing to learn, you can say something like, you seem like you have questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Usually, they will appreciate that and they will listen to you. Their whole demeanor just changes. And, but if that does not happen, just move on. No big deal. Just move on. Maybe your thesis that they were willing to learn is kind of out the door. Happens. It's not as common, but sometimes we misread people and that's okay. So you just move on. It's like, whatever. Don't let them steal your joy or more of your energy, right? So, here is a boundary toolkit for moms of autistics. So, there's some tools that you can use to help you set firm boundaries with confidence. And here's my mini toolkit to support you, okay? Are you ready? First, I want you to say that I just want to say that moms shouldn't just have an ongoing toolbox, meaning that, you're always adding stuff to it. Okay. And I like to do that for you all, in my different episodes. I'll give you tools and just, keep them handy, literally. Um, One that has tool, that can help you in your journey for different situations for, different reasons. So here's a list and my tools for setting boundaries. Okay, the first is a script. So create a few go-to phrases to use when confronted with these situations from those who are willing to learn more about autism and why you do the things you do and can educate. So keep them in your pocket, ready to go, in your file pocket in your mind. And be kind, okay? Yet firm when you're setting these boundaries. Okay, it's got to be kind of a bit of both. And you might notice that someone is judging or disapproving based on their body language, even, or the spoken language. And you might ask, like I said before, you seem curious. Do you have questions? We're happy to help. Okay. The next is other options include I appreciate your concern, but uncomfortable handling this. Okay. See, that's short and sweet, to the point. Or we're focusing on positive reinforcement techniques at home. Thanks for understanding. Okay. The third is the broken record. Okay. You're going to hate this, but don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Okay. And it's like, good grief, I have, talked about this before with them. You probably have. And here's the thing. Um, Learning occurs over time. It just doesn't happen usually. It's not immediate. So we learn with continued exposure and repetition as human beings. That's for every single one of us. Okay. And we learn a little bit as we go along, a little bit more. and we strengthen what we've learned. So be consistent and calm in your approach. You might say, we've been working on this with our BCBA and we have a plan. I appreciate your input. Thank you. And you can share some of what that is um, to help them understand why we do the things that we do and how it does help our child. And we can't just do what they do with their neurotypical child. Okay. And the last is an ally. So the ally seek support from fellow moms who get it. They're like-minded. Online communities or professionals. Sharing experiences and strategies can strengthen your resolve. And you can do this in our free community for moms called the Autism Thrive Tribe. Okay, I build it for you. All you have to do is go to thrivingmomsofautistics.com and, click to gain access. And it's for free. Okay. Seek out the areas that you want to learn more and dive in with other moms. Those challenges that I do every week, there's a place there where y'all can discuss how you're doing with those challenges and how you're growing. And if anybody has ideas, where you're stuck. It's a beautiful thing to have other people. So I'm thankful that you joined us today and every day that you join us. It's a beautiful thing, and I'm so thankful. And I'm excited that you're here to learn and to grow. So let's meet up again next week for another episode, and have a blessed week, and I will see you again next week.
Thanks for listening to Thriving Moms of Autistics podcast. Be sure to leave a review and tell other moms of autistics about the podcast. Let's support each other. Find the full transcript for this episode at thrivingmomsofautistics.com. And be assured, you are not alone in your journey.